Okie dokie, my bubbly environmentalists, let's go. This is our next video. It is about trophic levels. This is actually going to cover 1.9 through 1.11 in the CED. So we're going to cover a lot of content in this one. Every community is going to be divided into these different trophic levels. We can also call them feeding levels. Now, the purpose of all food is to provide energy to organisms. This is the energy we need for our growth, the energy for the movements of all the atoms around our body, the energy we need for moving, reproduction, all of it, metabolic, maintain our body temperature. All of these items down here require energy. So we eat in order to get that energy. And then we take our whole community of organisms and we're going to break them down into our trophic levels, which are these feeding levels. All right, so we can divide most members of an ecosystem into, are they producers, are they consumers, or are they kind of what we call these like our secondary consumers? Plants are going to be our producers. They're autotrophs because they are making their own food. Very important. Where our consumers, there are heterotrophs. They have to get their energy by eating other organisms. Our plants, they are our base for all of these trophic levels and for our food webs. All right, let's talk about this first trophic level. As I mentioned, plants are our base. So in this example here, I've got terrestrial producers, such as our trees. This is going to be a tree here, plants, bushes. But we also have aquatic producers, such as phytoplankton. All of these guys here, they're going to make the sugars. And those initial sugars are going to be necessary for all of our communities. They're the ones capturing the light energy and converting it into those sugars. After our first trophic level, now we're on to our second trophic level, which are herbivores. It could be caterpillars consuming leaves, it could be our deer consuming trees, or it could even be zooplankton that's consuming phytoplankton. But they're going to get all of their energy by eating plants. Now, super confusing. These are called our first order consumers. I know that they're in the second trophic level, but they're our first level of consumers. Now we get into our second order of consumers. This is our third trophic level. These are carnivores. So as we know, carnivores eat herbivores. So we have this cute little bird eating the caterpillar, which ate the leaf. We have our coyote, which is eating the bunny, which also ate the leaves. And then we have a krill, which ate the zooplankton, which the zooplankton ate the phytoplankton. And then it keeps going into our fourth trophic level. These are our third order consumers. So they're going to eat at what we call the fourth trophic level. This is going to be our snake that eats the bird. I know, kind of a gross picture here. But the bird ate a caterpillar and that caterpillar ate leaves. So we're on our fourth trophic level. The same with our whales. Now, finally, we have our top. These are important. These are our apex predators. They're at the highest trophic levels, and most importantly, they do not have any natural predators. So we have our bears, we have our tigers, our hawks, our orca whales. Now, often forgotten are our decomposers. They're often not represented on our trophic maps or our food chains, for example. However, they are most important because after everyone has eaten each other, they are the ones that return all the nutrients back to the soil. So they play a very important role. Okay, so let's now look at, as we kind of looked at all the different trophic levels, But now we need to look at how does the energy flow graphically through the ecosystem and through this food web. First thing, we're going to create a food chain. We're going to look at simplified models with these diagrams, which are food chains. They're going to trace the flow of energy from the producers to our various consumers. Most important part here is that the arrow shows the energy transfer. So this shows that the energy of the carrot went to the rabbit, then the energy of the rabbit went to the coyote, and then the energy of the coyote went to the puma. So here's an example of a food chain. And you can see, again, the arrows are going from the producer to the consumers, all through our different third trophic level, fourth trophic level, ending with the owl. Then the owl's gonna poo or it's gonna die. So we're either gonna get some poop, or it's gonna die, and then our decomposers are gonna take over, create those nutrients, the phosphates, the nitrogen, make that available for our producers. Now, most importantly, we have realized that unlike the single chain above, where it moves in just one direction, most of the time we're going to see animals eating from different trophic levels. For example, if we look at our fox here, in this situation, this is our first, this is our second, he is at the third trophic level. However, if we look at a different route, if maybe we go from grasses being first, grasshoppers being second, bird being third, oh, now he's at the fourth. So just to recap, so we could either go this way, where he is at the third trophic level, or we could go this way, where he's at the fourth trophic level. So important to know that these webs are more realistic and they show the actual flow of energy that could happen through the ecosystem. Another way we can look at this is through an energy pyramid. These are also going to be on the AP exam most likely. If we look at this at the bottom, our first trophic level, this is where we have our largest population. So we could be measuring this in terms of biomass, or we could be measuring this in terms of energy. So in terms of both of those, we see that most of our biomass and most of our energy in the system is in the first trophic level, and then as it moves up, it's going to become smaller and smaller. Now, this is all because of a big idea in this unit. So this is a very important rule that we need to keep track of. This is called the 10% rule. Now, this 10% rule says that as we move from one trophic energy level up to the next one, we are going to lose energy. You guys know this, that our bodies are constantly giving away heat. We're constantly expending energy in the form of heat. That means that when a plant captures all of its energy, 90% of it is going to be given away as heat, where the other 10% will be transferred when it's eaten. So 10% goes to the next trophic level when we eat it. However, that 90% is expended as heat. This is another way to look at this, our 10% rule. So you can see my first carrot here. My first carrot was able to take in about 1,000 calories of energy. Well, 90% will be lost. So therefore 10% or 100 calories will be given to our cute bunny here. And then that bunny will lose 90% of it as heat, and only 10 calories will be given to the coyote when it eats it. That coyote is then going to expend another 90% of those 10 calories as heat. So when the puma comes and eats it, only 1 calorie is available for it. It means that we need a lot of producers in order to sustain the caloric diet that's needed for our apex predators. This is another way to look at it as well. We can see that 90% is being lost, while only 10% is going up to the next trophic level, where again, 90% is lost and 10% goes up to the next trophic level, and so on. This is the same idea, showing that if we start with 100% of our energy in the grass, only 0.1% will reach our vulture. All right, now we can also look at our energy pyramids in the form of biomass. Instead of just always energy, it could also be biomass. And when we look at this biomass, you can see that our plants create a massive portion of the biomass in a community. And each trophic level after that is going to have less mass and less mass and less mass, with our top carnivores having the least amount of mass. Now, the bizarre thing is that this is completely different to an aquatic biome. If you notice, the pyramids are inverted. So in the aquatic biomes, I have very little producers. And this is because most of the time they are a single cell and they're eaten wholly and completely. We don't have trees in the ocean like we do up in our terrestrial. These plants and these trees are going to stick around for a long time, where we only have these tiny one-cell organisms here that all they need to do is for a whale to come by and all of a sudden they're completely gone. So therefore, our amount of biomass in the oceans and in our aquatic biomes are much fewer for our producers, where they're much larger for our carnivores. So this is just another example where you can see that the autotrophs in the terrestrial biomes, we have a much larger biomass, where the autotrophs in the aquatic biomes are much smaller. This is definitely going to be on your AP exam. So definitely something to just take note of, and remember that these are flipped. All right, awesome.